Pearl Harbor was an absolute disaster for the Americans. It's really hard to find anything good that happened that day. But one of the most fortuitous things that occurred was that Dr. John J. Moorhead, by chance, happened to be in Honolulu that weekend. He was giving lectures. He was a distinguished surgeon from New York City. He had served as a frontline combat medic in World War I. And again, he was just there giving lectures. He was, by chance, he was on the island. And he was trying to get a lot of military doctors to come to these lectures throughout the weekend. He'd given a lecture on the type of wounds that soldiers received. Interestingly enough, that Sunday he was going to give a lecture on burns. And when Pearl Harbor happened, one of the big things is they didn't have the medical personnel or the medical facilities for this massive influx of wounded, a lot of them horrifically wounded. And so they went to Dr. Moorhead and they said, "We desperately need your help." He went to Tripler General Hospital that was ran by the Army. It was the best medical facility on the island. And he did surgery for 11 hours straight and saved a ton of lives. At the end of this, he was recalled to active duty, given a colonel's commission. And I found this quote from Fire and Fortitude quite interesting from him about the type of wounds and the type of work he was doing that day. He said the casualties were numerous, varied, and severe. The embedded foreign bodies were of variable size and depth. The majority of casualties consisted of multiple lacerated wounds and compound comminuted fractures. Loss of limbs, initial or from operation, resulted in only a few post-operative fatalities. Shock and hemorrhage were common, but these were surprisingly well combated by transfusions of blood or liquid plasma. Interestingly enough as well, I guess a lot of the medical personnel, they just were like totally out of their element here. They'd never been in a situation like this. Dr. Moorhead had, and so he was apparently very good at dealing with these injured soldiers. It was mainly Army personnel he was dealing with this day. And so there's this one interaction, again from Fire and Fortitude, that I found quite interesting, where he said, "Son, you've been through a lot of hell and you're going into some more. This foot has to come off, but there's been many a good pirate with only one leg." I don't know if that line would have worked on me, but I guess it went over well with this young soldier. And again, these wounds that they were dealing with and the situation in which they were dealing with them in, where they were shoving as many beds as they could into his surgery room, and they were going into barracks trying to find guys that were living, and you go into a barrack and just limbs would be everywhere, to put it bluntly. I had read about one guy, and again, this is just like interesting wounds, because like a bomb would hit a barracks, and then like a guy got like a bunch of glass from a mayonnaise jar in him. Like very different than what you think when you think about Pearl Harbor and you think about all the Navy fatalities and the Navy casualties. This type of Army stuff where they were in their barracks or they were getting strafed running around, like very different types of injuries. And I thought it was interesting. And again, shout out Dr. John Moorhead for saving a ton of lives that day.